Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar is speaking to supporters. Let's listen in.
Expected because he was running against someone who had a bigger bank account, right? Who was more well known, and he literally floored the country. And that is exactly what we're going to do in this campaign. So, we left Nevada, although it's raining right now there, but it was beautiful all week, and we had such a great time, such hospitality. We have a great team down there, still working hard. They're counting the votes. But as usual, I think we have exceeded expectations. I always note that a lot of people didn't even think that I would still be standing at this point. They didn't think I'd make it through that speech in the snow. They didn't think I'd make it to the debate floor. But time and time again, because of all of you and because of the people around this country that want something different than the guy in the White House, we have won. So I want you to know, first of all, our itinerary. We are headed, of course, to South Carolina. But on the way tomorrow, we are going to Fargo. I challenge my opponents to do a rally in Fargo. We are doing one. We're pretty excited about that. We are then going to Little Rock. We are then going to Oklahoma City. And then we go to South Carolina. So that is our plan. And I think you all know that not only is South Carolina an important state and where we're going to have the next debate, but from there we go to Super Tuesday. And 1/3 of America is going to be voting. And guess what one of the Super Tuesday states is? That's right. So John and I actually went and voted today, and I was actually amazed at all the people there on Saturday voting early, and so we recommend everyone vote early, but not often. So we want to thank you for doing that. And I would say, first of all, I think that people are starting to see that in today's politics, and this really came to us out of New Hampshire, where the nation discovered me in a big way for the first time, that empathy, humility, decency matter, and that we have that in spades, and also the toughness to beat Donald Trump. And because of you, we have proved the naysayers wrong every single time. Because of you, we have built a campaign as strong and resilient as the hard-working Americans of our country. Because of you, we're going to turn back the division and the exclusion, the meanness and the hate, and defeat Donald Trump this fall. That is our plan. Now, some believe that the way to beat Donald Trump is to be just as polarizing. Could you say that again? Okay. And I think what we know is this, that Donald Trump's worst nightmare is that the people in the middle, the people that are tired of the mudslinging and the name-calling, will have a place to call home this November. And that has been our mission from the beginning. So if you're working 2 jobs but still struggling to choose between medicine and rent, you have a home with me. If you're frightened for your kids' safety and sick of NRA lobbyists blocking gun violence laws, then you have a home with me. If you're trying to raise a family and tired of corporate titans lining their pockets while you are sewing the holes in yours, you have a home with me. And if you think it is shameful that an American can be stopped and profiled because of the color of his skin, if you're sick of a president that sees diversity as a weakness rather than our country's great strength, then you have a home with me. And there is something else that I've been fighting for, and that is to bring heart back to the White House. To restore that basic empathy, that fundamental decency that's been under siege since this president wrote his first toxic tweet. That was many tweets ago. I'm talking about a president who bragged about the size of his rallies while visiting a Texas hospital after a gunman killed 22 people at a local Walmart. I'm talking about a president who sided with the murderous dictator Kim Jong-un after a 22-year-old American student died in North Korea in their custody for trying to take a poster from a hotel. I'm talking about a president who separated innocent immigrant children from their parents and tried to deny them toothbrushes and soap and showers, and then said, and I quote, "You have to take the children away." Well, you can quote me on this. We have to take this president away. And if you think we can't do it, if you think that we don't have the grit, the resilience to turn the page on the racism, on the sexism, on the cronyism, and the corruption, just remember that the day after this president took office, millions of people marched in protest all across this country, including in this city, including where I'm going tomorrow, to North Dakota, and to Oklahoma, and to Arkansas, and to South Carolina. And then what happened? Thousands of women signed up to run for office. We were not just resisting, we were insisting on a better way forward. That summer, as that president tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act and its protections for families, millions stood up and said no. And with that mandate, we handed him a crushing defeat. We were not just resisting, we were insisting on a better way forward. In 2018, what happened? Well, we saw the highest voter turnout in a midterm election in 50 years. Women, people of color, all ran for office and won big. And we turned the House of Representatives back into the people's house again. That's what we did. So don't go telling me we can't do this. Don't go telling me, because what I see is that we're not just resisting, we're insisting on a better way forward. And when I go to our rallies all over the country, what do I see? We were just in Aurora, Colorado. What do I see? A fired up Democratic base, big time. But I also see, at least at my rallies, other people joining us, independents, moderate Republicans, people that say, we want to be part of this. And what we do is we say this: we don't want to shut people out, we want to bring people with us. So, Donald Trump can count us out if he wants. By the way, for the first time ever, he mentioned me at a rally. Yes! So that's what, you know I've arrived now. You know they must be worried. And so as you see all these attacks you're going to see against me, just remember it is a badge of honor. It means that we are gaining in every single state in this country. and I am here to serve Donald Trump notice. I have won every race, every place, every time. I have won in 42 counties, flipped them, that he was so proud when he won them, and then I came roaring back in our own state. I have won every single congressional district in this state every time. And when you look at those swing states, you look in the middle of the country where we need to win. States like Pennsylvania, where a poll just showed me beating him by 7 points. You look at that. You look at those states like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Ohio and Iowa and, yes, our own state. And what are we going to do? We are going to build a beautiful blue wall of Democratic votes around those states, and we're going to make Donald Trump pay for it. It is because of you that we are going to get this done. And you know how much I like to get things done. I really do. And I like to do it the right way. And I think it's not only tells you something about how you campaign when you bring people with you, it tells people how you're going to govern. Because the work of governing isn't always glamorous. The work of governing is not always about standing in the corner of a boxing ring and throwing jabs. The work of governing is about standing next to someone you don't always agree with for the betterment of this country. That is what governing is about. That is how we're going to do this. That is how we're going to lift up everyone in this country. People who feel locked out of the American dream. Because I can tell you this, after what we saw in the last week of this president, after what we saw of him making mincemeat of the rule of law, of what we saw of him a few weeks back having escorted Lieutenant Colonel Vindman out of that White House, with what we saw of him now claiming he's going to purge people in the intelligence community from his administration, the rule of law cannot tolerate 4 more years of a president who thinks he's above it. Our democracy cannot tolerate 4 more years of a president who thinks he can bulldoze through it. And the American dream cannot tolerate 4 more years of a president who thinks he can choose who lives it. So I am asking you to keep up the work. You have been making calls for me. You have been volunteering. You have been calling all over this country from our international headquarters here. I put these headquarters here for a reason, because I think the middle of the country matters. I think that states that sometimes are considered flyover country matter. I think we leave no one and no place behind. I go not just where it is comfortable, I go where it's uncomfortable. I believe in bringing people with me. It is literally the opposite of Donald Trump. So we're going to get on that green bus, a la Paul Wellstone. We are going to get on that green bus. And I think I'll end with a story about Paul. It's my favorite one. And it's about that last year of his life, when we so tragically lost him and Sheila and David's sister and their beloved staff in that plane crash. But what I remember about that year is, that day. But I remember something else. Paul had told our whole state that he had MS, and so he could never run back and forth in those parades like he used to always do. Instead, he would stand on that back of that bus and he would wave in those parades. He couldn't run anymore. But here was the coolest part. He had energized so many people in those green shirts to run around that bus in endless motion that you didn't even notice he wasn't running himself. That's what I'm asking you to do for me. Not literally run around the bus America. But help us at amyklobuchar.com. And help us by making those calls, by talking to your neighbors, because we don't just want to eke by a victory at 4 a.m. We want to win big. We want to win this for the people of this country. We want to win this for dignity and decency. And we want to win this big and get our democracy back. Let's go to work and do this. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.